Hi, my name is Marcio Mello. I'm the head of product management for the Intuit Identity and Customer 360 platform. I've been in the industry for many years, let's just say 10 plus years. And I want to take a moment to really congratulate and thank the FIDO Alliance for the opportunity to speak at the first FIDO Authenticate event. I sincerely hope this is the first of many, many more to come during these unprecedented times, to say the least. It is really great to have our identity and authentication community coming together and to share our Intuit journey towards passwordless world and our learnings as we go through this journey, so we can move closer and closer towards the true passwordless digital world that we all want. We're all in this together. I'd like to start with our company mission because it speaks to the core of why I'm super passionate about coming to work day in and day out. I guess it's called purpose. We power prosperity around the world for our customers. For those who don't know Intuit, we are the proud makers of products like TurboTax, QuickBooks, Mint. These products and services are absolutely vital for small business owners, for experts like CPAs, bookkeepers that depend on our ecosystem to provide their services, developers, but more importantly, families that need help balancing their household budget, and even more importantly, maximizing their tax return. For some of those families, that check is the biggest payment they get in the entire year. These customers are putting their most valuable data in our hands, and we take that trust very seriously in our identity and customer 360 platform. As you can imagine, this very diverse set of customer types makes the Intuit ecosystem quite unique, but also extremely challenging from an authentication, identity, authorization perspective. Many of our customers wear what I call multiple hats. They can be in one moment using QuickBooks to enter their Uber gig expenses, and in another moment, they can switch over to start preparing their taxes. To power and enable such a complex ecosystem so users can very seamlessly travel from one application to the other, we must have an identity platform that is extremely flexible, intelligent, and that puts our customers at the center of everything we do. And user authentication plays a critical role in our end-to-end customer journey. Even though this slide captures a more simplistic, linear kind of customer journey, and I've been iterating this slide since I came to Intuit, this slide really is not specific to our company. Like I said, we're all in this together, and no matter if you are an e-commerce, an identity or CIM provider, a bank, we all have to deal with the challenges of having an identity and authentication system that actually enables our business instead of how the old days used to look like. We were just those identity cops that bring the user experience that it's going to cause user drops, loss of potential acquisition. That's no longer the case. As you can see here, authentication is an integral part of the entire journey, from the early days in awareness and consideration when some of these users come to our properties to visit the websites and start looking, browsing what products they may need, or wants to start engaging with us as, for instance, a trial user. Identity and authentication is already there to help them connect with our experts, to chat in a secure way, and start exploring the product without necessarily all the work that's done by hand, field by field, to create an account. So they can start progressively experimenting why they came to Intuit in the first place, without necessarily having a lot of friction up front. So you can see that continuum of friction is needed. We want to make sure that the early days of awareness and considerations, or during the acquisition part of the KPI, that identity is an enabler there. And as they move on to becoming a member, that they start creating accounts to really have a much more adaptive and passwordless authentication. Because when they create that account with as few clicks as possible, they can get to the reward, why they came to it, very quickly, instead of spending so much time dealing with all the challenges and friction associated with account creation and account access. And as they continue to evolve in the relationship with us, they become what I call a high value or trusted member. As you can imagine at Intuit, the more the user uses our products like TurboTax, the more they're going to download and add to their profile very vital information that only the user should have, W-2s and other forms and other types of identities and information. If they have a small business, they will connect their Intuit account with the banks so they can get the transactional data imported into our products. So as you can imagine, over time, the more the profile gets richer, the higher the value of that identity, the higher the trust, and obviously the authentication friction should go with it. It's what I call desired friction. Customers have expressed that they actually prefer to see that friction at point of need rather than some magical thing that doesn't do anything when they are trying to transfer, for instance, a large amount of money from one account to the other. At that point, doing a re-authentication or a step up is actually welcomed by the user because, like I said, it feels like desired friction. Overall, the important part of this slide is that more than ever, identity and authentication became a critical part of all customer journeys. Down below, you see a bar called Customer 360. This is the other part of being a true CIM platform for our customers, is being able to use the profile data that we capture over time since the early days of a visitor or a guest to personalize the experience at every step of the way. Combining an adaptive and intelligent authentication with a personalized experience using the profile data, it's really an incredible proposition. It creates a delightful customer experience, that they see that we anticipate their need, that we recognize them, and we only use the authentication that's required for them to perform the task at hand. Powering our entire platform is the unified risk management and fraud prevention platform, what I call the passive factors, the more kind of invisible signals that without them, we really don't have a platform and we can't really protect the users thoroughly. So the combination of these invisible signals with the active signals, like the more kind of user-centric authentication factors, we can provide the best experience to our customers here at Intuit. So I hope this slide gave you a broad idea. Again, there's nothing specific about Intuit, but it just should make you feel really good about why I say that there's never been a more exciting time to work on a customer-facing identity and access management platform. And more importantly, on technologies for authentication that allows this journey to be an enabler of the business instead of a source of drop. The next slide, I talk about a little bit of why FIDO for authentication. Why in our journey towards a passwordless world we chose FIDO? Well, I've been a partner of FIDO for many, many years, since the start. Back at Intel days, we became part of the FIDO board. And I'm a true believer that the way to get to a passwordless world is to have a standard, to have an alliance the way that FIDO has created that really helps everybody in the alliance to achieve our joint goal and our joint objective, which is to get rid of passwords over time. We cannot do this alone. No company by itself will be able to really arrive at a true passwordless world if the rest of the ecosystem isn't going there together. And FIDO is doing that for us. The benefits of the standards being able to be an investment for the long term, future proof. We know we're investing on something that all of these companies, including the mega platforms like Google, like Microsoft, and now Apple, there's a huge benefit, and that's the only way our group will be able to celebrate together that we got rid of passwords, hopefully in our generation, and FIDO help us get to that long-term view that this is not a journey for 1 or 3 years. This is a journey for life, and we are committed to that together with FIDO. The user experience that I mentioned on the previous slide, identity and access management for customers, for consumers, is no longer optional to have a great user experience. You cannot shoehorn what you do in an enterprise identity and access management for employees into a customer-facing identity and access management solution. And be able to get to the passwordless experience, leveraging the biometrics on the device, both on native apps and on the web, is for the cross platform, the cross device experience is vital. And last but not least, better security. Again, we're all optimizing for convenience because consumers expect things to be convenient. but it has to be secure as well. And betting on the security capabilities that FIDO brings to the table connects directly to our mission, to our vision, to raise and continue to earn the trust of our customers. Okay, so now I'm gonna share some of the experiences as we did the evaluation and rolling our FIDO authentication solutions. Starts obviously with the vendor evaluation. We had a very specific set of criteria for a company of our size and our global presence in terms of security, the platform readiness, the scalability, the availability, references of existing partners that are leveraging the company services. And we decided to go with a partnership with Knock Knock Labs, again, one of the FIDO founders, and a company that we trust to be a partner for the long term. We built on their S3 platform, and we've integrated already in the iOS and Android native apps across Intuit, and we're looking forward to expanding that. I will talk about that later on. I suggest, if you're in the early days of considering FIDO, to also spend some time doing internal customer education. Created a nice little video, educational video, to bring everyone in our ecosystem, our partners in the business units, the executives, and everyone that will be involved in integrating the FIDO capabilities. They could just walk through the video and understand the differences between the FIDO versus a platform-specific authentication factor. It was very well received and welcomed by engineers, by customer care agents, and all the disciplines that are vital for a successful rollout of a new technology, a new experience. Then the way we approached this was as a progression to start building out the user experiences, starting with an MVP, a minimal viable product, focused on existing customers and for signing specific, so account access, to start testing, to start learning with existing customer before we started to expand the FIDO authenticators into account creation or sign up, as well as account management, or when the user needs to change their settings or the profile data, how to leverage FIDO at that point of need to make sure that's still the customer. So I would recommend, but this is up to you, obviously, to have a rollout plan that starts with validating at each different part of the life cycle that the experience is correct, that the users get it, and then you continue to expand over time. And align with that, if you have different types of applications and services that you provide, it's also recommended to start with one of the apps to, again, learn how users are reacting. We decided to choose TurboTax, specifically the native app on iOS, because of the Face ID and Touch ID availability that we could leverage with the FIDO integration. And we did it with an upgraded to the app that the users then could automatically enroll to the FIDO biometrics on the device. So that's just an example. And I'm sharing this because, like I said in the beginning, we are all in this together. If the work we did and the learnings we had can help other companies in their journey, then I'm happy that this is a helpful resource for other companies, because we're all, like I said, the more companies have adopted FIDO, the better for our customers, because most of our customers are shared. An Intuit customer is probably a customer for a bank, for an e-commerce site, for other services out there. And the more the customer have a more consistent experience and they know that they can rely on the FIDO authentication and a passwordless experience, the better. Last but not least, I have some examples of how we roll out. So the first thing that we did was migrating to FIDO from the existing solutions. So having in the phone, doing a OTP over SMS on the same device did not make sense anymore when we can leverage the biometrics on the device through the FIDO integration. So we did that for the, like I said, for the iOS on the signing side, extremely successful. I have some data that's going to perhaps excite you. We also, because this is an Authenticate event, we also, over time, we learned that by challenging how the authentication starts, and you know very well that for many years, decades now, it's been a very one-size-fits-all boring approach of asking users at signing, hey, give me your user ID, Some services like ourselves have the user ID being different from the email. So the user has to remember that user ID. Then they have to enter the password, or they go through the forgot password flow. That's very boring, very old school. Um, and most users, as you can imagine, if you think about TurboTax, our engagement model is very different than daily, weekly, or monthly active users. These are yearly active users. Users are not dying to come back to TurboTax after they finish their tax return. They expect that that will be something they will do again only next year. So the likelihood they will remember the username and the password goes down tremendously. Obviously, for other products we have, the engagement is more kind of daily, weekly, so that's not a big problem. But for TurboTax, it's definitely a challenge to just have that flat, fixed set of fields. And if you don't remember, you have to go through an account recovery flow, or worse, create a duplicate account. So start from scratch, create a new one, because they don't want to deal with the hassle of having to go through the account recovery flow. So from that boring static to what we call identity first. Many of you already have heard, or perhaps already in the process of doing, or have done already, the integration of starting with, hey, tell me something about you, your phone, your email, your user ID, anything you remember, and we go and we match against the accounts that we have in the system, and the authenticator that makes sense based on a number of factors: the device you're using, the patterns that you've authenticated with before, instead of having just the password there. So basically, for many users on our native apps, when they enter the identifier, the next step, if they have enabled Face ID, for instance, will be to do the FIDO biometrics authentication, or use a different factor that's still better than having to remember the password. So that's a huge step in the right direction. And we did the ID first approach, the integration, not just on the native apps, but also on the web, so that when they come to our websites, they don't have, again, to enter the user ID and email plus the password. They can just enter the phone number, their email, go to the next screen, and they will get the right factor for them to get into the product. This is a very powerful combination between identifier first and FIDO where available. And I'm very excited to share that one of the key parts of the life cycle is the account creation. After doing the account access or the signing, we decided to go for the first product that would combine identifier first and FIDO for a fast and passwordless sign up, the first passwordless sign up we've ever had. Very exciting. I was really jumping up and down when we got this into production and we saw the results. So from an onboarding flow that on a mobile device, you had to enter your email, create a user ID, enter the password, confirm the password, enter the phone. Very boring, lots of steps. The user already went to the App Store, downloaded the app, and they have to go through this very painful process before they can do what they came to do. I love my products, but they didn't come to Intuit to play with identity and authentication. They came to accomplish the goal they had in mind. So the faster we can get them into that, the better for everybody. So now we have this example where you go create an account in your native app in TurboTax iOS specifically. It's where we started, and you can enter just the phone number, or we can pre-fill the phone number soon. You tap create account and you verify your phone, and then on the next step we launch the Face ID option. And if they enter the FIDO biometrics here, now the user has basically two very powerful factors already enabled: the phone OTP as well as the FIDO biometrics for, in this case, facial recognition. So tap, 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 done. No entering manual fields, no fumbling with characters, no bad input, no pain. A total passwordless onboarding flow. Very, very exciting. And I have some numbers now that I would love to share with you to understand the power of combining identifier first and FIDO. So some of these key metrics on this powerful combination, I only captured since January 1st. So this past calendar year, the one that we are in, this unforgettable 2020. We've seen an incredible metric of over 99% reduction on native apps of users starting account recovery flow. That's amazing. It's not just about the user experience having improved so much, so users don't have to deal with the pain of going through account recovery flow on their phone. but also reduced our costs, our operational costs when it comes to customer support. A lot of these flows ended up with a support call. So very powerful reduction, and making now identity and authentication, instead of a source of pain and drop, actually a source of reduction of costs and increase of customer satisfaction. So we are now part of the success of the company in many KPIs. The second one, about 20, I just pick up an average because depending on the app or the platform, it varies quite a bit. But just having the FIDO authentication integrated into signing increased the signing success rates about 20%, like I said, on average across all the different apps and platforms. This is incredible. This translates to actual dollars. And it makes a big difference when we go and request for additional investments, for additional factors, for additional folks, so we can go continue to expand our CIM platform at Intuit. 60% reduction on the TurboTax iOS app when it comes to the account creation flow. What I just showed you in the previous slide cut down the time that used to take for a user to create an account by 60, not 6%. This is incredible. It really, really makes a big impact on the ability for us to take the user straight to what they came to do at Intuit, the first time use experience. It's been very well received by the customers, and we plan to expand the progressive sign up without a password, leveraging FIDO for other apps at Intuit. We'll continue to test to make sure that we're building the right flow for the right product. Again, there's no more one size fits all. What worked for the TurboTax entry point may not work for our Mint or what we call T-Sheets for clocking hours, or different types of QuickBooks apps. The beauty of it is that our platform can now personalize the onboarding experience based on the entry point, based on the user intent, instead of having a one size fits all that's boring and flat. Last but not least, on the web, we're already seeing 25% of users coming in, logging in or accessing the account passwordless. Why? Because they enter the identifier and they're used to use their phone to confirm that they're trying to access the account through an OTP over SMS. So basically they enter the identifier, next steps, they enter the authenticator, and instead of choosing passwords, users are choosing factors that are less painful to remember or to use. So organically, users are already moving into a passwordless sign-in at Intuit, which is a great sign that the more factors we add, the more people are going to start stopping using password. At the bottom, last but not least, over 2/3 of all native app sign-ins on iOS and Android uses FIDO biometric. Expect this to get to 100%. It's so convenient, so easy, and so much more secure that we know that this is just a matter of time before all of our users are activating the FIDO biometrics on their devices. But we're not going to stop here. These numbers are incredible. We're already seeing even better numbers as we test with other types of capabilities, or we enhance the experience, because that's the beauty of it. Now we are part of the experience and we can iterate and test very quickly. And this continue learning and improving help us get these KPIs, get these metrics even higher. And I can't wait for the new features we're working on to have an even greater impact on account creation and account access. I will leave you with just a teaser of what's to come, which is to get FIDO2 WebAuthn into our browser, into the different types of entry points, Intuit.com, TurboTax.com, QuickBooks.com, to be able to have a account access coming from the browser that can leverage the identifier first, and as the user goes next, we can detect that the browser, the machine, is ready to use, to support WebAuthn, and provide to the user on a Windows 10 to leverage the Hello authenticators, on a Mac to leverage a fingerprint reader or a Face ID. And this is going to be a huge step towards combining this amazing experience you already have on the phone, on the native apps, with a web experience that will take advantage of the local authenticators on the device. This is going to be a huge step in the right direction. We also have other factors in the works that will leverage FIDO. I'll keep that secret for now, but what I want is to leave you with that commitment that we started from to get to a passwordless world at Intuit, and we're very serious and committed about that. We're excited about the factors that we're going to add in the next 12 to 18 months. And for all of you out there that are in the same journey, please feel free to reach out to me. Like I said, we're on this together. We can only win together. Sharing our experiences will only accelerate our common goal to defeat passwords once for all. So I want to thank again the FIDO and the Authenticate event to give me this opportunity to speak to you. And I'll be available now for questions. Thank you.